Once a divorce is filed with a court, there is a presumption that's created that all property is marital. And it is the burden of the person that claiming the property to be non-marital or separate property to show and demonstrate to the court that that property is separate property. Now, when we talk about separate property, we can have an inheritance that was received prior to the marriage or during the marriage. We can have a gift made to the spouse prior to the marriage or before the marriage, or we can have an asset that was acquired prior to the marriage from another marriage that ended in divorce. It can be cash, it can be a retirement account, it can be a trust account, and it's the burden of the spouse claiming to be non-marital to have clear and convincing proof that that property is non-marital. On the other hand, marital property means the asset that the spouses have acquired during the marriage. Typically means the house, the cars, the retirement accounts, any other assets of value such as art, jewelry, guns, and so forth. And when it comes to dividing that marital property, the court will divide it fair and equitably. Typically, the court tries to do equally right in the middle, but that differs and depends on the circumstances.
When it comes to dividing your property and your debts, both the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri are considered equitable distribution, or specifically they're called fair and equitable distribution states. What the courts are trying to do there is divide your property as equally as possible in a way that is fair to the parties. So that doesn't mean it's going to be an exact 50-50 split, although you do see that a lot in divorce cases, that generally you're keeping half of your property and assuming half of the debt. Now, it's important to know when the court is going to look at the ownership of the property, and that is different in Kansas and in Missouri. So in Kansas, depending on what the parties are arguing, the court could enter 3 different dates. It could be valued at the date that the parties physically separated. It could be valued at the date they filed their divorce. It could be determined at the date of their divorce. In Missouri, it's much more straightforward. They're just valuing everything as of the date of divorce. There are different classes of property, and property is generally considered either marital property or separate property, and there's a number of categories that you can look at when it comes to separate property.
Another issue that we face during the process of dividing the assets and debts between the spouses, it's the accurate value of the property needs to be divided, whether that's a house, a retirement account, a vehicle, or oftentimes a business. I almost always advise clients to get professional valuations, especially of the main assets that needs to be divided, whether that's the house. Clients oftentimes can rely on the county valuation for tax purposes. Sometimes they can get a real estate agent's opinion on fair market analysis for that property, but having that professional appraiser coming and appraising the property can give you the best value under the market circumstances. Business valuations. That's an issue where parties oftentimes are so divided, with the parties seeking to keep the business, perhaps undervaluing the business, and the parties seeking to get an equity portion of the business, maybe overvaluing the business. And that's where a business valuator comes in handy. And while that's a complex and lengthy process and oftentimes quite expensive, it's extremely important to complete, because at the end of the day, going to a trial without a business valuation done professionally, you'll be running the risk of the court just setting a number that can be completely out of proportion or undervaluing that business.
When it comes to dividing your property in a divorce case, especially your personal property, it is incredibly important to have a comprehensive list of that property. Because I'm going to give you a little insight here. Judges and even attorneys hate dealing with personal property. It always gets handled at the last minute, whether it's trial or whether it's in settlement. So if you want to do yourself a favor, then a comprehensive list is something you put together, but that can be done in a very easy way. So what I always advise my clients to do is simply take their phone, walk through their home, and make a video of all the property that they have in their possession. That does 2 things. Number 1, it gives you a comprehensive list. You can take the video and you can either give it to paralegal, or you can take it yourself and create this list of property that needs to be divided. The second thing that it does is it proves the existence of the property. Now that may sound kind of crazy, but I'll give you a specific example. I had a client who had a $3,000 set of golf clubs that were in the garage, and he moved out during the pendency of the case. Guess what the wife said? He took them with him, or they never were there, or they're not there now. Luckily, he had had a video that he had taken, and it showed that the golf clubs were there, even though he didn't take them. And so we were able to recover the value of those golf clubs. So it is very important to do that, to not only do it, but to get it to your attorney as early as possible in the case.